Welcome back, everyone. I'm Michael, and today we'll be taking a look at a relationship displaying two people who just do not pair up well from the Surviving Infidelity subreddit. There is a lot of yelling, fighting, and toxicity primarily from one side. Remember to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. This first story was created in November of 2023 by user AdeptArrival2507. It's titled, I asked my wife for a separation. I, 29 male, asked my wife, 32, for a separation yesterday. We got married in September. 5 days before our wedding, I discovered that she had lied about her involvement with her ex-boss, who was married with kids, and she had been having an affair with him for the entirety of our relationship. Essentially, dating two men simultaneously. Typical trickle truths due to shame. It supposedly ended on August 31st when she found her wedding dress. There are many more red flags regarding this, but I am trying to move past the affair itself. I was guilty of not enforcing the boundaries I had set, and she was guilty of not respecting my boundaries and continuing to manipulate, lie, and deceive me. Lots of breadcrumbing and gaslighting. I succumbed to the pressure of our families, the sunken cost fallacy of the wedding, my love for her daughter, and my love for her. We elected to continue with the marriage and reconcile under the following conditions. She would end all contact with her AP and any other men she was previously intimate with in any capacity. She would actively pursue counseling and actively pursue her relationship with Christ. She also had to pursue a healthier lifestyle with a better diet and exercise and cut out unhealthy coping habits such as binge drinking, binge eating, and pornography. She agreed and promised that she would do whatever it took to ensure she was never that person again. She added that she would never hurt me in that way again, among other vows. I baptized us together the night before our wedding, and we had such an amazing day together when we got married. We asked all of our family present to help guide us and support us, and to help hold us accountable to avoid the mistakes made previously. The last 2 months have been an absolute roller coaster. I started a new job that requires me to be gone for significant amounts of time. We discovered she was pregnant, which was something we both wanted even before the affair. She miscarried. Dynamics and priorities have shifted. She started strong. As for contacting other men and her AP, to my knowledge, she has not communicated with her AP at all or with other men inappropriately. She immediately gave me access to all of her devices, set her text messaging apps up on my iPad, and has been relatively transparent. However, we have had 6 men over the last 2 months reach out to her that she was previously intimate with in her past before me. I asked her to delete or block anyone she was intimate with. She didn't. Boundary crossed. She even offered one of them to come see both of us, not just her, whenever he was in town. We agreed to change her phone number so that the triggers would not continue for me. However, she still has men reaching out to her through her Apple ID. As for counseling, she immediately signed us up for Regain, and we pursued couples counseling together. We did this for about a month, and we decided that the counselor wasn't the best fit for us and that we would find a new one, as well as individual counselors. I found an individual counselor immediately through a referral from my previous one. I also found her a referral through my new counselor. That was almost 4 weeks ago. She called them the first week and left a voicemail, and only after the risk of separation did she call them again yesterday, claiming that we can't afford it and she's too busy. I am paying for it and have referred her. Boundary crossed that she would pursue counseling. 1 week is understandable, a month is not. As for her relationship with Christ, she has done a wonderful job on the spiritual front. She is active in church and devotionals, although this has waned since the miscarriage, which is understandable. Immediately following the discovery of the affair, I invested hundreds in premarital books, devotionals, Christ-centered recovery, etc. We have completed one of maybe 12. Never completed our Christian premarital counseling. Then there's her health. I signed her up for a gym membership as she expressed interest in it and has been an active person historically. She has gone once with me in the last 2 months and walked with my mom once. She has not changed her diet. She claims she does intermittent fasting, but then her one meal of the day is cookies, cake, bowls of mac and cheese, or girl dinner. Again, crossed boundaries here. She also has lots of bad habits. She is codependent on her family. She has no support groups outside of her immediate family, who also struggle with alcoholism and abuse. They deny that my wife is abusive towards me and through her behaviors, and will not hold her accountable to honoring her promises to me. My wife claims she needs alcohol or a buzz to help her do chores. While she is not a typical alcoholic and doesn't drink regularly, when she does, she drinks in excess and typically gets sick. She claims she will never do that again, only to do it again 2 weeks later. After she miscarried, instead of pursuing healthy support, she spent $150 on a phone game and another $150 at TJ Maxx. This was money I gave her to cover our bills. Subsequently, we were unable to pay our bills and had to get more money from her parents. I understand that a miscarriage is devastating to a woman, especially one who already has such low self-worth. But I have tried and tried to pave the way for her to establish healthy coping mechanisms through counseling, church, reading, and exercise. I am unable to provide a lot of emotional support as her husband because I am still in immense amounts of pain, and I too lost a child, although I know it is different. She made multiple commitments and has broken most of them, always claiming excuses. She says she's too busy and does not have enough money, or that her timeline looks different. Her family is under the impression that I need to accept her no matter what she does. I have rebutted that I will always love her unconditionally, but I cannot continue to let her cross my boundaries and self-destruct. I can love her without being with her. They have said that she will only find self-worth when she knows I am truly committed to her and that my love is unconditional. I tried to explain that this is the epitome of codependency. I am not perfect. My mindset has shifted pretty negatively. I have pressured her to get healthy for our marriage and child. I have lashed out in my pain. I shut down and get angry when I see yet another man pop up on her phone. I know she is just going to minimize her relationship with him, only to find out she was intimate with him at some point. I jump to conclusions when I get triggered because I don't know what I can trust and what I can't. My patience and grace are very thin. I have not been able to provide the support I would like to provide to my wife during the loss of a baby. I feel like I have been breadcrumbed again. She gave me just enough effort for me to marry her and continued for a short while afterward, but it has since tapered off. My counselor, our old marriage counselor, my recovery group, my uncle who is a strong Christian mentor of mine, and my family have all emphasized the importance of me setting and enforcing boundaries. So I asked for a separation, and I haven't budged. I have been cussed out. I have been guilted for actively distancing myself from my hurting wife and precious stepdaughter. I have been accused of not wanting to connect with my wife through physical touch and quality time. I have also been begged to come home. Instead, I sit in my hotel room while I train for my new job, which my wife encouraged me to take, and watch my home life dissolve from thousands of miles away. I am constantly accused that it is solely my responsibility to stop making mountains of molehills, and that although she caused the initial hurt, I am the one preventing us from moving on, that I need to give more grace and forgiveness, and that I am in the wrong for lashing out in my pain. I want my wife to be happy and healthy. I want a happy and healthy marriage with her and raise beautiful children together. She has so many redeeming qualities, but she also has a lot of demons as well. She lives in a self-destructing prison, and it hurts me to see that it is so obvious what she needs to do to get there. Still, she is so blinded by her own traumas, shame, and mental illness that she cannot handle the overwhelming tasks in front of her. We qualify for an annulment until March 15th. I hope it doesn't come to that and that something begins to stir in her, but it is clear that this relationship in its current state is toxic for both of us. I do love my wife unconditionally, but I do not need to continue an abusive marriage with her. I recognize that this is just my side of the story and that she has a different one, but these are my truths. This is all I have that seems like reality to me, but my view on reality has been so scrambled by her affair that it is difficult for me to discern what actually is real and what isn't. Maybe I am so far off base, but the mental damage caused doesn't allow me to see it any other way. If you are religious, please pray for us, but especially her. She needs all the help she can get. I just can't give her any more. As OP said at the start, there is a lot of gaslighting going on, but not just from his wife, but from her family as well. OP did all that he could with trying to provide pathways for his wife to get better, but she is consistently avoiding them. I think most people can agree that when something as traumatic as a miscarriage occurs, it's okay to completely shut down for a while. But at some point, you must continue with your life, especially if your partner is waiting for you. It's tough to feel sympathy for OP's wife because of that affair she had, and honestly, it really feels like she's on the brink of having another one. She was in contact with 6 different men who she has slept with in the past, even after she and OP agreed to be exclusive to each other. OP said it perfectly. His wife was just leading him on until they got married and kept it up a bit longer, just to secure him. She doesn't want to take any responsibility right now and expects to be able to do whatever she wants with no consequences. About a month later, OP created an update post titled, "How many second chances does she need?" We tried to continue to reconcile. She finally started seeing a counselor, and the 3 sessions she has had seemed to have a significant effect. Then she stopped going to church. Then she stopped going to counseling. Then she had her baby daddy over to visit without running it by me. I firmly expressed I was not comfortable with him being at our home alone with her while I was gone. She fought me and fought me on it. He should be able to see his daughter, but I am uncomfortable with him in my house or alone with my wife while I am not there. She eventually caved and had her mom be with them and then gave me the silent treatment for enforcing my boundaries. Then she started disappearing with one of her male students. Let's call him Jay. 2-hour work sessions turned into 4-hour work sessions. 4 hours turned into 5. They started getting coffee together. They started getting lunch together. He is around for nearly every one of her appointments, even the ones they don't have together. I noticed this trend. I expressed I was uncomfortable with him and the level of interaction their relationship was beginning to have. She acknowledged it and said she would no longer allow him to sit in. This was last Thursday. Last night, I got a picture of my stepdaughter at her Christmas musical. Jay was in the background. I then found out that my wife and her family took him to dinner afterward too. He is her student and client. I expressed that I was uncomfortable with him. She did not communicate with me that he would be there or that she invited him. I found out by a third-party picture of my stepdaughter. She assures me that they are not having an affair and the dude is not attractive at all. But nevertheless, my wife's behavior is unacceptable. She refuses to take accountability for it. She knows I am uncomfortable with him, regardless of the reason and past infidelity, and elected to spend an evening with him deceitfully. She has had an explosive meltdown the past 2 nights, regarding me stating that it was unacceptable behavior of a wife who is trying to repent and reconcile. Even if there was no infidelity, it is inappropriate behavior and disrespectful to our marriage and me as a husband. Her excuses are, "I told you he wasn't anything to worry about, so I didn't think you would care." And I invited my students because I felt bad that they are separated from their families for the holidays. And I don't think what I did was unacceptable even though I knew you were uncomfortable. This isn't a dictatorship. You don't get to control who I'm friends with. I have extended our separation to the new year. She has flip-flopped between divorce and counseling and back to divorce. I have signed the annulment paperwork and need her to sign it. I am trauma bonded to my wife. She is beyond toxic to me. She is cruel to me. She disrespects my boundaries with men. She has abandoned me as her husband and the vows she made to me before God. But I can't just walk away. Her talons are deep. The fantasy I had of her and our future is too strong. I know I need to leave and never look back. I know I need to demonstrate the consequences of her actions. How do I leave? 4 months went by before we got another post. This one is titled, "Well, it kinda happened again. It's me again. Please be kind." I'm in extensive therapy and support groups. Things significantly improved once I came home from training. January to March were spectacular. We made a lot of healthy progress. I became significantly less controlling. She became significantly more communicative. We did a great job being intentional with our time, recovery, and relationship in general. Fights became fewer and farther between, less explosive, and we would implement solutions to the problems. We were both actively in counseling and marriage counseling. She did a better job of respecting agreements and boundaries. However, it was still far from perfect. We were very active in church and regularly attended 2 great church groups. Things were looking up. In February, we discovered she was pregnant again and were happy about it. In February, we lost our second baby. I came home from work early to comfort her and to grieve myself. I took some time off in March to give myself space to heal. On March 7th, I discovered that she had watched pornography as a comfort for the second miscarriage. This is an issue because we vowed to each other that we wouldn't be bringing porn into our marriage. Then I discovered that she had been consuming porn and hiding it from me for our entire marriage. Then I discovered that she would regularly neglect her daughter while she pleasured herself to pornography. She did things like leave her in the bathtub or on the couch alone. Then I discovered it was almost every time I would leave the house and she would encourage me to go out with friends so that she could pleasure herself. Then I discovered she still had all of the inappropriate pictures and videos she made with the man she cheated on me with within a secret app. She claimed that she deleted the app before our wedding, but there is no way for me to verify that or trust that she didn't use that material. I pointed this out as an addiction and she claimed that it wasn't an addiction because she dated a man with a real porn addiction and this wasn't that bad. She acknowledged this was a massive breach of the frail trust we had rebuilt. This created an environment where I didn't want to leave the house because I knew what was happening while I was gone. This crippled my self-esteem, especially sexually. She asked for reconciliation and to join me at my therapist because they specialize in affair recovery and sexual addiction. We filed for divorce on March 21st and I moved out to the couch while we worked on the transition. A week later, she made a very reckless, impulsive decision at work that put someone's life at risk because she wanted to please one of her male co-workers by getting the resource back earlier. I did a good job of just comforting her without criticism, and she took the rest of the day off. But I was pretty frustrated because of the lack of responsibility and how I was forced to be the responsible one. Later that day, we were going through our budget and trying to separate finances, and I discovered she had spent hundreds of dollars on gas station food and a mobile phone game. She had no idea she spent that much. This got me pretty frustrated, so I took some space and just got ready for bed since I had to leave for work the next morning. I told her to sleep on the couch instead of me so I could get better rest. This set her off and she exploded on me. I didn't have the energy to fight it and knew my fuse was already short, so I just went to the couch instead. This set her off even more and she came out to the couch and just laid on top of me in an effort to make me uncomfortable enough to go back in the bedroom. I identify this as physical abuse. I calmly told her I didn't feel physically safe, needed space, and to go back in the bedroom. She mocked me and belittled me and flipped it to how she doesn't feel safe. Eventually, I de-escalated, got her to leave, and slept on the couch. The next morning, while I was showering, she came in to apologize for how she expressed her feelings, but not the content of which she expressed. I told her I didn't forgive her and that the physical aspect was absolutely unacceptable. I packed my things, kissed my stepdaughter on the forehead, told her I loved her, and tried to leave. My wife stopped me and started asking very detailed questions about when I was leaving and when I would be back. I felt she just wanted to know when to act out. I snapped, told her I was disgusted with her behavior and that I would be leaving soon enough for her to enjoy your porn, or maybe just have another man come over to please you since neither of those are beneath you. I couldn't even look at her and left. She immediately blocked me on everything and began the scorched earth process. In my anger, I exposed her publicly. I felt like my voice and my story needed to be heard since she silenced me for so long. The next day, she got fired from her job for many cumulative reasons, but mainly the accident. I found out that she also impulsively moved everything out of the house that day, even though we had the house through April. She uprooted everything, as well as her poor daughter immediately and impulsively. I came home from work to be homeless with all of my belongings stuffed into my storage unit, with my soon-to-be ex unwilling to talk to me at all. She isolated me from all of our friends. She won't file her divorce paperwork or taxes, so I am just stuck in this purgatory. She has become the most cold-hearted, cruel woman. She talked to my brother and said that I have a lot of amicable qualities, but she hopes that he never speaks to women as I do to her. None of her family will even acknowledge my existence, and they've already come to rescue her from her poor decisions. I've been living out of a suitcase in hotels alone for a month and just got into an apartment, but have no furniture and am absolutely hemorrhaging cash. An affair, betrayal, constant deception, broken commitments and vows, addiction, alcohol abuse, abuse, manipulation, impulsivity, people-pleasing, enmeshment, miscarriages, so much trauma. I am seeing a dedicated trauma therapist for PTSD and love addiction and am in multiple groups. I have some family here that have been very helpful. There are two parts of me. My head is absolutely disgusted by how I've been treated and the decisions she has made. My heart hurts for her and the things she is putting herself through. My heart wants to care for and support her. I know I genuinely love her, but it is intermingled with my own addiction to her as a result of the abuse. I am a survivor of narcissistic abuse and my story deserves to be heard. This is a classic rip the band-aid off situation. While I would love to see OP salvage the relationship with his soon-to-be ex, I just don't think that's possible. The fact that her family immediately goes to comfort her is telling. I'm making an assumption here, but she may have been spoiled by her relatives from a young age. This would explain the lackluster effort she has made to salvage the marriage, and she just comes across as a major brat. That part about how she wanted the bedroom and OP gave it to her, but then she wanted the couch is a clear example of that. This next update was made about 2 weeks at the time of this recording. The post is titled, "Separated, WW won't sign her divorce papers." I'm pretty confused here. If you look at my post history, it's pretty evident my wife struggles with addiction, BPD, NPD, abuse and control, etc. We filed for divorce on March 21st. We agreed to do a simplified dissolution which requires both parties to cooperate. This includes no kids together, no assets together, no alimony, etc. We separated the next week after she physically abused me for the first time. This was after I discovered her addiction and the existence/consumption of material that she and her AP made together 7 months into reconciliation. She also lost her job due to people pleasing a male colleague who put her student in danger. I finally snapped. I told her I was disgusted and that she could go enjoy her alcohol, her other men, and hell since I was leaving for work. I recognized this was wrong and I did a piss-poor job of emotionally regulating myself. I ended up apologizing. The next day, she immediately moved everything out of the house while I left for work out of state. In the 2 days it took me to come back, the house was cleaned out. Most of my stuff was dumped into our storage unit, and there was nowhere for me to stay. She immediately blocked me on everything and said we would only be communicating over email, which is fine by me. It's been 2.5 months of coldness. She continually says she'll get her paperwork in, but her life is chaos right now. But to be honest, this would mean her life is always in chaos. The goalposts move every time. It was as soon as she got a new job, and then it was the end of May, and then it was the end of June. This is how she behaves in almost everything. It's 5 sheets of paper. None of them require a lawyer. Only one requires a notary. You can submit them online to the clerk. It is not a big ask. We finally met at the courthouse 2 weeks ago to sign our settlement agreement. She was cold as expected. I even provided her with copies of the paperwork and she had the opportunity to just submit them then and there, but obviously didn't. Leaving the courthouse, I drove by her in her van on the way to my therapist. She was broken down, sobbing in the car. It's so confusing to me that she's so stone cold and avoidant, but then, behind closed doors, an emotional wreck. Yesterday, I saw a mutual friend post a picture of my wife giving her adult male student a piggyback ride with a huge smile on her face. That is no longer a mutual friend. Clearly, time and busyness are not issues, and her promise to herself of not pursuing other relationships until ours was finalized was not true. She won't file her paperwork, but is adamant about divorcing. She won't give me her income information for last year's taxes. She won't give me some of my belongings back. What the hell is wrong with people, particularly her? I've got consultations set up with some family lawyers. I'm hoping to get them to send a letter to light a fire under her ass. The simplified dissolution kind of complicates it since it requires mutual cooperation, and there aren't really any court motions I can get to force her to move. And then we have the final update, which was created 2 days after this recording. The post is titled, "The Finality of My Story." The divorce hearing was today. My now ex-wife was very cold to me. She brought her uncle with her, which I understand. We got up to the podium and I answered honestly about why our marriage failed, but that more marriage counseling could have helped. The judge passed our dissolution. One of her students met us upstairs in the courthouse, and I stood back while the 3 of them rode down the elevator. Total switch up in behavior from my wife. My ex-wife pokes her head out and says it's okay for me to ride down with them, so I do. We have a light chit-chat in the elevator. We get outside and I start to walk to my car. My ex-wife calls out my name and says she wishes me the best. I say, "You too," and keep walking. Put my stuff in my car, walk over to the clerk to get a copy of the dissolution, and my ex-wife is already at the counter. I was going to wait my turn, but my ex-wife invited me up. We both get a copy. I pay for it willingly. As we're walking out, she gives me a hug. We start walking out, and she tells me she likes my socks. Absolute mindfuck. I know if we spent any amount of time together over the last 3 months in person, today probably wouldn't have happened. The 2 minutes we were at the counter together sparked everything again. I'm experiencing a lot of grief, but also some peace in that my energy can finally be directed elsewhere. If you get cheated on, for the love of God, just leave. Forgive, but leave and don't look back. There's a reason it is one of the only allowable reasons in almost every faith to divorce. It is devastating. It ruins so many relationships and causes so much chaos. Just leave and heal. It was surprisingly mature of OP's ex to act the way she did in court. I don't want to do a lot of victim blaming, but just like how OP said, if the two simply had talked more, then the divorce probably wouldn't have happened. Now that OP is out of her life, who is going to try and enforce her self-improvement? Then again, you could make the argument that she doesn't need to work on improving herself at all, because now she doesn't have to worry about how others feel. She can live the way she wants. And perhaps the Christian lifestyle just wasn't meant for her. I'm not sure if I just missed it, but I don't know if OP ever said that his ex also grew up as a Christian. I'd assume that she only became a Christian after the two got together, otherwise her parents and relatives probably would be more so on OP's side rather than hers.